Here we go, episode 2. Now this one is an interesting case because of course I think there was like an original unedited upload of this somewhere, but I mean, and which was actually I think slightly different in terms of content compared to the episode that we got on the main channel. So it's I think there were like scenes which were moved over to episode 3 in the original cut of this episode, which you obviously aren't here in this one.
Andy was a real sort of core part of the cast, really, in both in the show and behind the scenes, I believe, right? It seems like he did so much with the coordination, editing it all. It probably wouldn't be the way it is or made it as far as it did without him.
Yeah, he was like a real key figure in the early days of the show. Like he's like a maverick. He did pretty much a whole load of things. Pretty much everything I knew about my editing was from him. Now we have Amelia here. Interestingly enough, her parents and my parents used to be friends.
Really?
Yeah, they were like really hung out together a lot. Like when they were younger, I think in the 90s especially. We make fun of like the green screen being a bit rubbish, but as an editor who actually had to work with the green screens, this was a nightmare to navigate, In the early times, we think we accidentally had a couple of incidents where we accidentally used green things on the flipping shot, which of course got keyed out of existence with the actual green screen.
Yeah, that's the thing, is with a green screen, especially when you're learning, you don't realise until it's too late and it's all shot what's gone wrong. It's interesting because it's a drama group, right? Jim Cartwright was a writer of stage plays.
Oh yeah, he's internationally renowned, yeah.
So this sort of thing where they're standing there with maybe like a table and a couple props is a lot like a stage play, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's also a good way to show just how much we were able to improve on this with our limited resources. We went from this kind of stage play type look to having some pretty decent shot arrangements, actually, as we go on.
I offer help and advice to those most in need.
What a nice fella.
Yeah, Clinty basically became this character, didn't he, in a way? He sort of filled the same role. I'm looking at them now and I'm like, they do act quite similar, because this guy left pretty early on as well.
Well, kinda, but I feel like Clinty's more of an in-your-face, rough type criminal, where this guy seems more like a sophisticated gentleman type criminal. And here we go again, episode 3. And this is where we start entering into, we've left the prehistory era, which was episode 1 and 2, and now we're moving into the bit where where I'm actually directly involved and was actually there to see the filming of the show. Behold, a character who never appears again after this one scene. Yeah, it's Mr. Swing Lee. He's supposed to be like, you know that guy, the guy who like reports every minor infraction to the council. I kind of had an idea of like, if he ever did come back, I'd have this plotline where maybe he and Gary would have this odd friendship or something. I had this weird assumption that Mr. Swing Lee had like collected model trains or something. And then like him and Gary can like bond over the model train set or something. I do wonder how that would have contrasted because like I'm friends with Clinty and of course Swing Lee would probably not be the biggest fan.
This is another early character who disappeared.
It is weird because like he seemed like he was gonna have like a major character arc and they just like vanished out of existence like after about the 11th episode. He's actually seems to be doing fairly well now. Like, I think he works in a band. I think he had like a podcast where he discussed like sci-fi and stuff. I've actually listened to an episode. It's actually pretty good. I will actually say, open invitation. If any of you guys see this commentary and want to get involved, just give me a bell and like see what we can do. Kathy actually started self-isolating during the that second wave. So of course she filmed that from her house, I do believe.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
What was stopping you from just FaceTiming the actor?
That is a good question. I guess we didn't think of it at the time. And now episode 4. Now this is where things get really interesting, So I think now we're finally on my debut episode. I think I can finally get into how I designed the character. It's like hilariously simple story, this. When I joined the show, Jim basically told all of us from the 10 o'clock to 12 class to just come up with a character, just try and think one up. And of course, literally the first two words that came to my mind in an instant, Psychic Gary. And it's like cemented into my mind, you know.
And you just developed it from there.
Exactly. Here we are, it's me! Oh, I'm hideous, aren't I? No.
Oh, by the way, what do you hope to accomplish in the army?
I'm sorry, what?
It's nothing, it's no mind.
Was that just a coincidence, or is that an actual, like, Sherlock reference?
Afghanistan or Iraq? Sorry? Which was it?
Well, your character is a lot like Sherlock, isn't he? So it almost seems like sort of referential, you know, like a little nod.
That's why I based it off of. He just like had Sherlock levels of intuition, but like his mum raised him to think he had psychic powers. Here we are, the iconic duo on screen together for the first time.
I'll be back in a bit. Stay here.
Yeah. Now this cut that's coming up, this is probably one of my favourites in the early show. Because like Clinty just told him to stay here and he just immediately doesn't stay. I'm probably going to like say a lot of criticisms about the editing as we go on, but like this is definitely one of the high points. Here we are, Coronation. We've actually been to that place. Yeah, it's a shame it shut down.
Wait, it's shut?
Well, I think, yeah, it's changed hands. Like, I think it's like an Irish pub now.
So the sign's gone?
The sign's gone. The iconic Coronation sign is no more. This is something that, like, Jim taught us. You can see that how Natalie here is facing forward. That's, like Jim told us to do, you know, to try and get our faces on camera as much as possible. So this scene, this is our first major argument scene. You can see it. This is a well-acted scene. If you compare and contrast this argument to the argument that they have in episode 37, you can actually see how much our acting improved. The iconic line from the end of the Skew Bridge Meet Clinty trailer coming up.
I know exactly who you are, Lauren.
Brilliant icon. You'll notice this quite a bit as the show goes on, but we were encouraged to actually try pulling a couple of facial expressions at the end of each scene. I think I called it a soap face, and you'll notice this in regular soap operas too. The characters will pull do a facial expression at the end of each scene.
Is it just kind of like a reaction shot?
Yes, when out the scene, but pretty much, yeah. And you'll see this in not in other soaps as well, not just Skew Bridge. It's just at the end of each shot, just do a couple of facial expressions, you know, because that will give the editors something to work with, you know.